Welcome to Melted Boston Free Radio Wednesdays at 7 p.m. I am so excited. Sponsored by Carlino Guitars, and our guest today is Steven Duggan, Stevo, the drummer of the Melted Chapsticks. We're going to talk about his experiences and life, and we've made it out of Southie, most of us. He's still here. I want to tell you, we're so thankful to be sponsored by Carlino Guitars. Eddie Carlino, he is an artist. He makes guitars, straps, which if we went through the names of stars that he works for, whether it be Slash, Kiss, The Talisman, and he even works with really interesting groups like the Melted Chapsticks. That's me. Eddie made me a blinged out guitar years ago. If you don't know how to play it, at least look good, and Eddie does that for you. You can get wonderful lessons from Joe Filoni, who is a master in his own right. He will be being interviewed by me in a few weeks. So we are going to talk to a legend, OG from Southie, and that is Stevo, my drummer, my friend, and a blessing. How are you today, Stevo?
Excellent franchise. How you doing?
I am thankful. I'm so thankful today to have you, because as a lead singer, as my mother wants me to go back to guitar, I am a diva. I wrote a song famous in my own mind. We're going to get into some of your songs and how you almost killed me at a show in JP.
You're welcome.
The show always goes on with Stevo, no matter what. We're going to talk a little bit about how the pandemic has affected us. And Stevo, tell me a little bit about your life, why you picked playing the drums.
I think kind of a lot of people, when they in school, they get to pick, the instruments and go, I want to try the drums because it's something different. But I didn't have that option, so I kind of just was like, I think the drums chose me. That the more I saw people playing drums on TV, or a few times with St. Augustine's used to have bands playing their hall, downstairs hall years ago, and I'd always be fascinated by the drummers, like the sound they made, and it seemed like it caused movement where people danced and everything. So, and then as you got older, just watching TV, used to see Buddy Rich on the Tonight Show, and I was always be fascinated when he do these drum solos and how everyone would watch him and the sounds he made. I was like, wow, that guy's cool. And say there was a TV show I used to always watch after school, was called The Monkees. And Mickey Dolenz, all four of the Monkees were cool, but the coolest was Mickey Dolenz, and he was on drums. So I think I always kind of was fascinated by him. And then as I got older, that it came geez, if I save my money, I could buy drums and learn how to play. And I wish, I never took lessons. It's kind of always never too late. During this pandemic, I've watched a lot of videos on technique. So it's kind of trying to use your time wisely during this time, and trying to better improve myself, especially now I'm older. I can't really be as fast as I used to. Unfortunately, we all slow down, but you can make up for it, or even sound better than you were with technique, because you can always fall back to technique on if I do this, I'm staying on top of my game.
No, absolutely. I think with this time as well, and we're going to get into a few songs that you have contributed. Also, you were fascinated with Ringo Starr.
Yes. Back, say, in the 70s, my cousins used to play Beatles. I was like, oh, I never heard of this band. They're like, you never heard of the Beatles? That's the first time you don't know the Beatles. You always look at them like you have three heads, and I've looked at people with you got three heads, you haven't heard the Beatles?
Well, you've also, yes, I haven't drank in 10 years. I
still see the pink elephants and the green dragons, sort of like the flavors in Lucky Charms that they don't sell anymore.
Oh, my God.
The pink elephants and the green dragons.
Oh, gosh.
But, when you used to have the Beatles, I remember hearing, Yellow Submarine, because that was kind of geared towards kids, and I remember hearing, the little drum parts and the snare drum when it kicks in on the chorus. I was just fascinated just with the tone of it, the sound of it, and when he played was just wow, that's cool. You can Ringo plays musical parts. That's the thing when people go, oh, Ringo isn't great, but all drummers and all great songwriters appreciate Ringo because he adds musicality to Beatles songs and plays like the right part. There's really no song where you go, geez, Ringo screwed that up. It's like, no, Ringo played it. There's no other way to play it than what Ringo played. The beats, the sound, it's everything, the times. There's some Beatles songs you don't even know that are going into different time signatures, and he plays it. He's like, once they used to say, once Ringo figures it out, then we got the song down. And he just contributed a lot, and he's still like your reference guide. It's sort of like the old VCR manual, like break out the Ringo manual on how to play songs. Like it's a ballad. What did Ringo play on Let It Be? What did he play on I Saw Her Standing There or something, or somewhere in between, like If I Fell, like great ballads and rockers, because there was such a different variety of songs that the Beatles played that so many bands started and based their whole career on like one Beatles song, like the sound of it. There's like, say, like Got to Get You in My Life. I always go, geez, there's bands with the horns and everything, like that's Chicago, or other bands just based their whole career on one song of the Beatles, which is unbelievable.
I know. You should jump on Spotify. It's 900 songs, maybe, something like that, or maybe that's what Paul did, but kind of like his Prince as well, just so much work churned out. And speaking of which, I got to see this, I don't know if you've heard of them, but this band called Rush.
Yes.
And I went to the show, and there's someone behind me. Oh, we're from Canada. This is our 800th show. How about you? And I'm like, this is my first show. And Neil Peart, and unfortunately passed away. How did he influence you?
Oh, he's like, Neil Peart's like, back in the 80s, and I first started, like, is this real? Like, I couldn't believe how he was on a different level of what, any other drummer that I've heard before or since. And it's just crazy. Yeah, actually, the first concert I ever went to was a Rush concert at the Worcester Centrum. I don't know what it's called, the DCR Center now, or something to that effect. But there used to be a place downtown Boston on Winter Street called Stairway to Heaven. And we used to be able to buy concert tickets there, and they used to have shuttle buses, like charter buses that would take you to concerts. And me and my friend Eddie went to see Rush, and we got on the bus and went out there. And, it was unbelievable. Just the visuals. They used to have screens and stuff. They would start off with the Three Stooges. That's how they kind of saw themselves, as just three lucky guys. Like, they seemed very humble, but their level of musicianship was off the charts still to this day. Like, I specifically remember going to a party in Dorchester on 7 Hill Ave, and they were playing a Rush song, and there was two other kids there that were Rush fans and drummers. And we're all sitting on different couches, and we're all air drumming to, like, we're all in sync. It was, like, so funny. I'm like, this should be, like, in a movie where, like, everyone, like, all the bass players geek out to let what Geddy Lee plays, and everyone plays what Neil plays. It's just, yeah, he was unbelievable. It's so unfortunate that he passed away in 2020. He has gone through a lot of tragedy where his wife died, his daughter died, and he started, I don't know if he was having problems with his hearing or his hands, that he kind of wanted to give up touring, which, everyone kind of held up hope that they would come back, because I think we took them for granted that they would always be there touring. So sometimes you're always like, oh, I'll see him the next time. I might not have the funds, or I don't have the time to see him right now. But I think when they stopped touring, retired, and I think the other guys didn't hate him, but I think they still wanted to go on, but they kind of understood, he'd gone through a lot of things, and he just didn't really have his heart in it anymore, which is understandable, because he'd gone through a lot.
Well, John Bonham, with his passing, ended Led Zeppelin for a long time till his son came in for the reunion. So these are, big pieces. And again, what I've learned from some of my last interviews, that nowadays it's okay to do different projects with other people, and that's fine. It's not that gang band mentality.
Yeah, that's true. Like that. This openness of this band is, because sometimes drummers either stop bands or they get fired from bands. Say Larry Mullen Jr. from U2, big influence, and Stuart Copeland. They started their bands, the Police and U2. And if they were in other bands, they probably would have been fired. They just would have been another drummer in a long line of drummers. Like Nirvana had so many drummers, but Dave Grohl's the man in that band. He's another big influence. Shout out to Dave Grohl. But I think he was like the 5th or the 8th drummer. It's just like drummers come in, they kind of have with their mind made up how they're going to play something. They might not mesh or gel with the other guys. So when they kind of stop bands, they like, this is what I'm looking for, and that's like kind of melds better. But at some point, every musician's going to go, I don't like the direction we're going in. So sometimes you just ride it out. Say you like we're getting into jazz, go do a little side jazz project and you come back, like say Rush.
You won't come back the same. Jazz, baby, jazz.
That looks like a jazz haircut, sir. You're not allowed in this band anymore. We're a hair metal band. That looks like a jazz haircut.
Tape that wig on.
Exactly.
That's a 5th date anyways.
The jazz haircut? That's definitely a 3rd date. A 4th date maybe.
Oh, my God. Tell me about what went into your CD. Was it a double CD with the Gangsters of Love?
Okay, so previously in my first band, we used to do 4-track recording with cassettes. So we only did, I think, 3 or 4 songs. And he said it's like old school, like punk bands or even hip hop, where you make your own home recordings and you give them out. So we never played out because, first of all, we're underage, and second of all, we always kind of would get close, and then we take a break, and we go, okay, now we got to start all over again.
Now, what was the band member? Was it the reason that they were turning 21 that they were in the band for your beer?
Yeah, Bonzi. Shout out to Bonzi. He was slightly older, so he was the closest one to 21 to buy his beer, and he also had a job, which was a big deal back in the late 80s. So his steady
It's a pretty big deal now.
Yeah, that's true, too, even bigger now. So he could buy, we put him on bass. He bought a bass guitar. He bought the bass amp. He had a vehicle. He had a car, which was a huge thing, too, to carry my drums.
No, this is the thing. The things that you have mentioned got me into music later in life. Being a bass player, that's what I started with. It only has 4 strings.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, Sid Vicious's little group there.
The thing about bass players is they're the low end on the sound of the songs, but in reality, bass players are like, you're being hit or miss with the bass player is because they carry the song. If what they're playing isn't pleasing to the ear, it doesn't matter what you put else on it. It all rides on the bass player. Like they give you the tempo, they give you what the song is kind of about. If it's a reggae song, they're playing the reggae bass line. If it's a punk song, they're playing fast.
Well, think about Caro, the bass annihilator in our group. Thank Goddess and gods for her.
She's unbelievable. She's got to be the most melodic bass player I ever played with, which is I never played with someone like that. But she's always, like I say, she's always there with say my bass drum. Like we're so in sync. It's really special. Probably most the bands I've been in, the bass players have been solid. There was one guy we auditioned. Everyone else is excited about him being in the band, and I wasn't. I'm like, he's all over the place. I don't fit. I don't connect with him. And they're like, he's great. I'm like, well, he played other instruments, which I wanted him in the band for that. He was a great acoustic guitar player. He kind of played a flamenco style. Great saxophone player. I think he played keyboards too. So I'm like, this guy could be the multi-instrument player that a lot of bands had. But as a bass player, I was like, yeah, this guy's not where I am. If the bass and the drums aren't together, it loses everybody else. So that's like funny that I've only been with one bass player, but he was in the band, and when he played a saxophone solo, it was fantastic. He was a great musician. I just didn't feel that we connected as a rhythm section. So not to throw anyone on the bus, but that's going to happen sometimes. You're like, oh, we got a great guitar player, but he doesn't fit what you're playing. Keyboard player doesn't fit what you're playing. Sometimes the sound of the lead singer's voice kind of doesn't go where you want to go, or even the drums. You go,
leave me out of this.
Not to throw franchise on the bus, But
Bro, the number
sometimes-
9 has been busy today in the last few minutes. The
Especially in the
11 also
snow.
hit me.
We live in New England in the wintertime, and yet the snow on the ground is still unexpected. I didn't know it was going to snow this much.
Or know how to drive in it.
It's like every winter is like day one again. How do I drive in this? Like, do I turn into the skid? Do I turn against the skid?
Oh, sweet.
Do I just like park on top of a snow mound? I can't remember. But it's, even drummers to throw myself on it. Sometimes I go, yeah, I'm not a good fit for this band. I kind of stepped out of a situation with my second band where I was, say, older than them, so I was more advanced, and they would play, and once in a while I go, oh, I like that, and they would just kind of, I used to call them the Sons of Metallica. Like, I was in the Metallica when they came out from day one and grooved on them, and then there's all these bands that were influenced by Metallica, but they were younger, harder, louder, faster, and I was just like, nah, we're losing the groove now. That's like this metal now. That's kind of only like the really music I don't really listen to because I'm not that young kid with, energy to spare. And it's just loud noise. There's really no groove. There's no hook for me. All the vocals are like, and, if I was 15 again, I'd probably love that stuff, bang your head to that. But it just doesn't get it for me. I used to always say if you play faster than the Motorhead, which I thought was a sped up version of the Ramones, but if you played faster than Motorhead, who loved the Ramones, then you lose the groove, you lose the hook. It's just the solos are just too fast. There's nothing there. The ear candy is gone once you play that fast. To me, it's not really what I'm looking for. But there's so much great music out there. You just don't hear it on the radio now. That's like the thing we always go, oh, music was better back in the day. And to me, that's what everyone's going to be. What you grew up on is what you love. And like you said about musicians, you're only going to be. I can only be Steve. I can't be Neil Peart. I can't be Tommy Lee. Can't be Buddy Rich. But I can be me, and I can take all the influences I used. Keep it in your head, and you never know. Like, oh, that drum beat on this song that I heard back in 1983, I could pull it out for a song right now in 2021. There's a lot of value in having experience. Unfortunately, I think the stuff that's on the radio now is just all programmed. It's the drums, like everyone thinks like these hi-hat beats are real music. Like that's like, it's like, yeah, it's just, and it's not a real drummer. That's the other thing that upsets me is that this music is just like, based on a producer, which is great. You got to have great producers to make music, but it's just, it don't get to me. But there's still great music out there. You just have to find it. Like, you can still hear it on college radio. I'll just put it on a random college station and I'll go, who is this? That's like really good song, just the sound of it too. Sometimes like, oh, there may be amateurs as far as like the guitar solo singer, the drums might be slightly off. Whatever it is, but there's something there that like grabbed you, and like there's still some great rock bands out there. The Foo Fighters, I think, are the perfect example. They're like the Stones, the Guns N' Roses of this era. They've been doing it for a long time. They still sell out the shows. I think it would scare me if there wasn't a band like that nowadays where. Rock should still. I hope someday, if I have kids and grandkids, that they will go, "Oh, the Foo Fighters."
That you know of.
Yeah,
all those Father's Day cards
exactly
that you get from Eastern Europe.
Every June, I skip town. I go on vacation. So, exactly.
So with the CD with the Gangsters of Love, was that hard to put together, and how did you do it?
Yeah, that was back in the band. So shout out to Sean Bowman. And his dad, the late, great Mark Bowman, I was in a band with a father and son, which was an interesting dynamic. I worked with Mark at the Globe for many, many years. And a good mutual friend, Danny O'Toole, shout out to DOT, he kept saying, oh, Mark, you should play with Steve. He plays the drums. And he said, Steve, you should play with Sean. He knew I played the drums. I hadn't played in a long time at that point. Kind of was like, it's funny as a lot of times I've gotten his bands, a lot of people felt like, Steve, you play the drums. Why don't you haven't done it in a long time. Why don't you do it? And I kind of, I'm done, I think. And I say Michael Corleone, they keep pulling me back, but they're kind of doing it for my own good, which I'm kind of glad. Like, more people have like had more enthusiasm when I started out. Like, Steve, you're gonna play, and I'm like, yeah, and I'll show up, and okay, it was nice. All right, have a good day. We played, but they keep being constant. Like, you got to play more, and I think I kind of have that excitement still to this day. I've been in Frankie's band for over a year, and almost 2 years, and I still have the enthusiasm. I think we're gonna do a lot of great things eventually when this pandemic gets to an end, or near the end. When they open up things, I think we can get into the studio, which will be a great thing. That's a great experience. So when I did with the Gangsters, Mark got all the equipment and built a home studio in his basement. And what we would do is record songs. We'd work on them for a while, but Mark liked the spontaneity of the song, recording it. We'd get the drum track down with usually a guitar track or something along with it, and then they would overdub the guitar part, the bass would come in, the vocals, so we had, we always have leftover songs, and we decided which ones would go on the album. His daughter at the time, Laura, she was going to art school, art college, and she did the artwork. We had some other guys we work at the Globe that helped out designing the CD cover, or the CD itself, and helped along with different things. So it was good seeing all these people help out that, had other talents, in art. And that's, one of those things when people can draw something and you're always amazed. I wish I had that talent, like playing piano, drawing something, those type of talents. I always kind of was like, geez, I wish I had that, people could juggle chainsaws. I always like, oh, geez, I wish I could juggle chainsaws,
And then while they're blowing fire out of their mouths.
Exactly, or other places.
Whoa!
We won't talk about my old Thursday nights. Save that near the weekend. Not on the weekend, but near the weekend.
We keep that going. And then with that, I love the artwork, the content. And then I think it's kind of like, did you guys, it was the old, and you did this with other bands where you're just handing out your product on the street corner. Yeah,
we played a few gigs here and there. We sold a lot to co-workers. We had it for the great price of $10. I think it was 10 songs for $1, So, and then I kind of got set up. It was, one of those very painful was I had a discussion with my brother saying, geez, the thing about the CD when we put out had a variety of music. It was like some 50s rock, some kind of Irish Celtic flavored folk rock, some other kind of ballads, some punk rock, straight up punk rock. So it had a different variety on it. And I talked to my brother, I'm like, geez, this song could probably possibly get played on the Irish Hit Parade. And I talked to my brother, he's like, yeah, go for it. So I sent it, the first radio station I sent it on a Tuesday, and that Thursday there used to be a show called the Daily Irish Hit Parade. It used to be from noontime to 1 o'clock on 950 on the AM dial, and they played it. I woke up right before and I turned on the radio and I heard it on the radio, and I was like, oh man, that song sounds like a song from the Gangsters. And then I kind of realized, like, geez, that is us. And then I went, oh, this is playing on a CD player. And I realized my radio didn't have a CD player. So I changed the station, and I turned it back on, and then came to realize that, oh, my God, we're getting played on the radio right now. I started screaming, and my family's looking at me like they thought the roof fell in. I was, like, screaming, like, oh, my God, we're on the radio. And they're like, what? They're like, the roof caved in. And so I put on the radio station, and they're kind of looking at me like, yeah, why is your song on the radio? So they were kind of more like, what happened? Why is your song on the radio? So then I called the Bowman's house, and it was going to be on the second CD where there was recording of me screaming. Like, they couldn't even understand, like, every third word. It was like, we're on the radio. Turn it on. But they live so far north that they actually couldn't get a 950 AM. So every time there's a movie, that thing you do that where the first time they hear themselves on the radio, I always can relate to that. And there was actually a mini series about the Beach Boys, like where they're in a parking lot and the first time they hear themselves on the radio. So anytime there's a movie, the first time you see yourself on the radio is like, it's so like it's an out of body experience. You just can't believe like all your hard work got to that point where you're on the radio. I think there was probably nothing. I should say that, but it's it's an experience that you always remember. That you can't believe like I go to the radio.
One day we're gonna lose our virginity.
Yeah, it's funny how quickly though you become jaded. Like it was funny for a little while, we would get played like 3 to 5 times a week on that program, and we were like big stars for like 2 months. They were like, here they are again, the Gangsters of Love. And and I was getting jaded. Yeah, we're on the radio again. Yeah, I was like, so then they stopped kind of playing us. I'm like, geez, I guess we're out of the top 40. Like, we're yesterday's news. And then, unfortunately, the DJ retired, so they retired the program. So that was our big heyday for about 2 months, many, many years ago. We unfortunately, some people have told us that we did make the regular Irish Hit Parade that they still play on Saturdays. I unfortunately never heard us, but some people said, "Oh, I heard you." That would have probably even been a big thrill because it was kind of like being on the daily Irish Hit Parade was like the minor leagues, the AAA, and then if you made it to the Saturday show, that's like you got called up to the show. Everyone's grandmother listens to the Saturday one, the weekend one. And it would have been fantastic to like actually hear us on there, but not to take away from what the daily Irish Hit Parade was. It was still like one of the biggest thrills is the first time you ever hear it. Now, when it was the follow-up band, we kind of morphed into a band called Sweet Escape. They had played us. We sent it in. It was the radio station. I don't even know if it's still on because a lot of stations have changed in the last 2-3 years. It was called The River. And I think it was like on Tuesday nights at like 10 o'clock, they would play local artist, and Mark went in with our lead singer Cindy, and they were like, all right, we're gonna play it tonight. And so we were there, and I think I have it on CD somewhere, a recording of where they actually played one of our songs. So for them, that was like the first time they heard themselves on the radio because they were like too far north from the Gangsters. So when they heard it, they were like that. I was observing them like going like, oh my God, we're on the radio, like all our hard work paid off. It was like that thing you do where movie scene where like they're screaming and like, oh my God, it is so surreal. But at that point I was like, yeah, just get played on the radio again. I was like jaded. It was already funny. It was like,
Well, I think that's the human condition. And the Buddha says when you listen to a song, listen to it like you've heard it the first time. And then I told Buddha, mind your own business. No, but it's... Are you from Southie? Listen, Buddha, knock it off. But today, you think of the Beatles, I remember hearing about their first time hearing it on the radio for themselves. And you make a very valid, wonderful point that all your hard work shows up there. And in the meantime, all the other stuff you do is just as important. It's just nice to see that final product. That's how we're judged. These awards, different things, but doing it for the love of it, I think that really helps out as well.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's you're right. You hit the nail on the head with that. Is you don't do it to get played on the radio or become a rock star. Well, that's always when you start as a teenager. You always want to be a rock star, be famous. Like say you're like, oh, I want to be like Zeppelin, the Beatles, Aerosmith, whoever, like the big bands, all the hair metal bands. Like the Ramones, whoever band you thought was cool.
Melted chapsticks. Achoo!
Oh, is that a shout out to our band? I appreciate that. But whatever it is at the end of the day, to get that one song that you play live, like there's a bunch of other ones that you worked on, it just didn't click, but you don't throw them away because there might be a part in a song that don't make it that you use, like, oh, we can use that as a bridge in the song, or we can use that for a chorus. So you're always creating, even a song that you think is done, you play it live for a while, and you're like, geez, I come up with an idea. Like sometimes there's a late addition to songs. Sometimes there might be a late subtraction. Like, we play it, I don't like that part, it don't flow. So we should take it out, So songs always, even when they're crafted and get, put on a CD and get on the radio, you've seen bands live that they change it up, because sometimes especially back in the day, these recording artists were under pressure. Like, oh, we're hot. We got something in the top 40. We got a top 10 song. We got to put an album out. We got a new single out. So sometimes it would be a great song, but it was rushed. Like they'd rush a song out, and it hadn't really gone through, like, say, the process of, like, you jam on it. It's like some songs you got 2 sections, 3 sections to a song, but you jam on it after you think it's done, and you go, geez, we should do this part, or that chord progression we should add. So songs are always kind of, even if you think they're done, they're always going through the process. It's sort of like you're a baker or a pizza maker, and you're like, what, let's, the controversial, let's put pineapple on pizza, like.
How dare you?
Well,
I'll take 5
Hawaiian,
of them.
The ham and pineapple on a pizza, some people might say, I just want cheese or pepperoni, but, I take the pepperoni if I want cheese, but it's got the flavor of the pepperoni on it now because it was on it there for a little while. So it's always an ongoing process with songs. Sometimes you might like, oh, we got a section in the song where we can jam out, and like every time you play, every show is different, and I think it kind of should be like that, the spontaneity of playing live. You just like, yeah, we're grooving on that song, let's just keep it going. Other songs, like, yeah, sometimes you might have to call a song short because you broke a string or I broke a stick, and all of a sudden,
or in your case, broke a heart.
Yes, that happens all the time. Sorry, ladies, it's just part of the process.
I have a deep voice occasionally.
Well, we've been lucky that with the Melted Chapsticks, that we've played quite a few shows, and knock on wood, I'll knock on wood now, is that we haven't had too many technical difficulties. Sometimes there's power outage.
A snowstorm, a Halloween snowstorm, when we're going to play a roof deck, which turned into going to an arena called Your Living Room.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's what they call force majeure, act of God. I remember playing a show with Sweet Escape. First time I ever played a show outside of Massachusetts, we played up in New Hampshire, this big festival with all these. This guy had this festival every year, and he had some fantastic bands, and I think we were the second band, and it was a great location. This guy had like horses, he had like a little pond, he had a tent, giant tent with catered food. So after you played, it was like all kinds of food. They had a giant popcorn machine,
green M&Ms.
It was, but we started playing. So we had a guy who was doing the sound. We did the sound check. We started the very first song, and Sean Bowman, he was on bass for this show. The very first song, the bass is right next to me. It just, boom, made a loud explosion, and it was on fire. So anytime kids out there, electrical fire, unplug the source before you start putting it out, because it won't go out until the electricity is shut off. Just to let you know.
Now, was that just a malfunction, or what about the rainstorm?
Oh, so that was, yeah. So this is
that's a different time,
yeah,
right?
So we play. So staying with the New Hampshire one. So we had to go. Technical difficulties will shut down for a while. So luckily, another band let us borrow an amp, or we actually might have had a spare amp. But yeah, one of the tubes blew up, and it was actually, you could see the flames. So that was kind of scary. We were near a house, so we'll make sure that we didn't burn the house down, like the Talking Head song, "Burn Down the House."
Or the roof.
Yeah,
the roof is on fire.
Yes, literally, yeah. So another show we played, which was the Topsfield Fair. The day before it starts, they have kind of a preview that only Topsfield residents get invited. They get passes in the mail.
My sister lives up there,
Yeah,
and won't take me.
Yeah.
But thank you, Carol.
It's it's kind of secret squirrel like that day. So we played. It was a nor'easter, and we played at a little gazebo. And I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna ruin all our equipment, because once it was such far in from the parking lot, like they can only go so far taking your equipment in, and the rest is just doing it by hand, going through the mud and everything. So we got to the gazebo, and we decided to make it more of an acoustic show. So my drums didn't get taken out of my vehicle. We used some my bongos or whatnot, or the djembe drum. But during when we set up, Mark got shocked very bad that I thought, oh boy, someone's gonna get hurt here with the all the rain and everything. It was going sideways. It was crazy the amount of rainfall. We had some fans, and God love them, they were under trees and everything like that. And it's just weird during anyone who's a musician with amplification knows when you got rain, the atmosphere conditions, like you pick up random things. You can pick up like taxi. We used to pick up taxi traffic, like, oh, I need a taxi to, West Broadway, the Flanagan supermarket. It's weird when you pick up when it's raining out because the atmosphere is so low and the ceiling is low is because of the clouds. So it was like we're picking up weird things on it. We're picking up like, I think it was like an Air Force base up there. We're picking up, airport up that way that we're picking up the air traffic. So it's always weird with that type of stuff, that you can't plan for. I believe as a Melted, we played at Porch Fest. I can't remember where, possibly Newton. I think one of Frankie's, I think the bass guitar or something blew up or something.
Yes, it did.
We had to do it. It was kind of like the Doors, no bass, and Frankie just was like Jim Morrison. He just went out and worked the crowd. It was amazing to see him how he worked the crowd, and we made the best. Like you got to make lemonade out of lemons. It's you got to make do what you got. You just kind of I mean, I remember the first show when with the Gangsters, the first song, my mic went out. But we had to keep playing the song, and then we had to take a break till they figured out how my mic worked. It just blew out. We did the sound check, sounded great. We kick into the song, got about first chorus, boom, it goes out.
You should be a little lighter on that snare, pal.
It just happened.
But drummers get blamed.
Yeah.
I, as a diva lead singer of the Melted Chapsticks, would never help you with your gear. Actually, I'm probably one of the only this is the early years where we carry our own stuff.
Yes.
And it's like you have a lot of equipment. And I mean, you have to carry this stuff.
Yeah. Actually, one gig that we did, we actually had a professional roadie. Shout out to Tommy Greeley. Tommy was a roadie for, what were they called? Oh, man. They were a Boston band. He did multiple tours with them. He used to work different clubs in Boston doing sound and lights and everything. He was well known. He knew a lot of people in the music business, and the goodness of his heart, he helped us. We were doing our actually CD party somewhere up in Salem on a place. I think it's not the Black. It could possibly be the Black Lobster. It was like right on the water. Beautiful location, and he helped us set up. He was tuning guitars. Like he was doing stuff we didn't even ask him to do. He was. He just went right to it, how to tune stuff, placement of mics and everything. It was like, wow, he really knows his stuff. Like, we were so lucky to have him for that day, and it's, you don't know people's resources. You kind of just know someone like, I'll help you out. And then you just go, wow, they're actually running the show. Like, that was amazing to have one show with a professional roadie. I can't even picture what it's like to have, like, your own drum tech, guitar tech, bass tech, vocal tech, all those things, setting up shows.
It seems like we've been through a lot of technical difficulties.
But I said, for the most part, I think we've been very, very lucky. We've had, like, the people who've hosted us for these Porch Fests, they've provided tent. I think we played a show in Quincy where it was raining, but the person set up a tent prior, which, was unbelievable. They wanted the music to be played at their house, and they went above and beyond. And I remember she made us sandwiches. It was fantastic. We tried playing another gig in Cambridge. There's a thing, like, they promised us they had all the power stuff that we could play. We get there, we don't have it. We could have probably did a bootleg show. I think we'd still probably be serving time right now, though,
So, yeah, I've really loved the Porch Fests. And I wanted to talk about a certain song where you almost killed me, Stevo. My drummer, my friend. But first I want to talk about how Alice Cooper came to your birthday party and how your life has been changed forever. Alice Cooper, right?
That is correct. Yeah. So it's got to be over a year ago. It was a special birthday in my life, a surprise party, because I have
28 again.
Great bunch of friends. And
is Al Cheever one of those friends?
He's one of the main culprits, which he kind of got us together. So I've known Frankie for a while. How we know each other is through his brother-in-law, Al Chiva, grew up around the corner from me, Southie. Al's a lucky guy that he is married Frankie's lovely sister.
Carol?
No, she's the one who introduced Christine. So,
Family Feud, go on.
Family Feud, exactly. Throwing some road flares right now. See if we can start a fire here. So, to string me along for the surprise party was it's a long-standing thing that Frankie has met the great Alice Cooper, and Alice is a big advocate of sobriety, helping people out here. He probably would have been long deceased, long gone if he didn't find the giving up alcohol. You know, the stories he said his stomach, you just be throwing up blood from drinking, and so Frankie and I have both found, you know, the same path, gotten sobriety, which is a blessing. So Alice was going to do a low-key appearance at this place called Maggie's, and Frankie had got tickets through his having met Alice before. And upon my arrival, found out that it was a surprise party for me, and Frankie's band, the Melted Chapsticks, were playing, and it was a great birthday party. Still to this day, I still can't believe that my friends had done this for me. The gifts I got, the cake, the band. And at the end, the last song, I got called on stage, and we did a song called Blister in the Sun by the Violent Femmes. And it was great because I hadn't played in years at this point. It was like, wow, that was an unbelievably great feeling, a great high to be able to step on and play drums in front of everybody. Because a lot of my friends had never seen me play. They knew I played the drums, had never seen me play. So to do that was great. And I don't know the circumstances, but 6 months later, Frankie wanted to say, hey, Stevo, one of these jam with us. And he kept...
No, it was more of, it was just turning the corner at CVS on West Broadway, and I saw you with your beard.
Exactly. He's like, who is this masked man? Who is this guy who's going to rob the CVS pharmacy? So he's like, please, sir, don't involve me in your plan of robbery. Frankie's like, come on. So I finally was like, reluctantly, I was like, all right, I'll do one show.
I said to you, I said to Stevo, you're going to play in my band.
He basically, and he made it happen. He's like, you got to play. So then he was like, what can I do? So I finally played Porch Fest, and it was like, well, you got to play another one. We got something else coming up. So I was like, all right, let me check my schedule. All right, I'm available. So I played a second one, and then he was like, all right, I need you to play 2 in May, 4 in June. What can you say, kid? I was like, all right. So he kept booking these gigs that fit my schedule, which was very, very nice of him to do that. You know, not that I have a busy schedule, but it was, he kept doing it. He's like, all right, kid, I need you for this one. I need you for this one. And then next thing you know, we had played like 9, 10 gigs, and I think by then we were starting to get the hang of it. That was the big thing. It was like, how does the song start? Who does the song? He would send me songs to listen to, and I'd always forget to listen to them because I'm like, all right, I'm kind of busy. I'll watch him at another date, and I never would set another date to watch him, and we kind of would just have to wing it, as they would say. And I remember it was the first show in Somerville. We were playing in a driveway. And where I set up the drums, it was an uneven driveway where the drums were flat on wherever the rest of the band was, but where the drums throne was in the back was at an angle. So I was looking up, and I kept missing the cymbals and missing the toms. But
we call that the remix.
And that was the thing too. Was I remember it was funny. Was they said, "Oh, there's going to be drums there." So I get there, and they said, "Oh, I thought it was going to be set up because I played shows where there's just one set of drums set up." And you just would jump on it. You maybe make a little adjustments to for your arm's length or whatever. If your own feel, like every drummer adjusts them. I thought it was going to be set up, and they're like, "Oh no, they're in the living room." I go in there. These things are like literally almost falling apart. There's no tune in. They're out of. It was horrible. Luckily, the other band showed up early, and the kid let me use his drum key, so I was able to like just turn them so they wouldn't fall apart and fall off. It was, we got through it. It was fun. And that was like a crazy big crowd of people. There had to have been like close to 100 people.
It was
in
a
the
full,
street.
in the street having a blast.
And it was funny. It was like cars were coming up and they'd have to beep to get the crowd out of the way. I was like, that's pretty cool that people wanted to see us, that they were willing to get hit by these vehicles. I mean, it was like a trash truck coming down the street. I'm like, that guy could take out half the crowd, 50 to 60 people, casualty incident. And they were like, no, man, I want to see the melted chapsticks. And I remember that was a cool day. The other band, I can't remember, they were really cool guys that letting us do some of that stuff. But I remember it was like bringing in the drums. I'm like, geez, this kid got a great kit. If he only took care of it, it was unfortunate that, but we made it. That's what you got to do. You got to expect the worst, hope for the best.
Yeah, that's stoicism, brother. And let's talk about a song also, The Gargoyles of JP.
Okay, so this is my recollection is, so we were lucky to keep on going. And at this point, we're playing we got a lot of confidence. We've been doing our thing for a while now, and it was about 5 months or so into playing, and we were playing, gigging. At this point, too, we had a steady gig, which was amazing. We had a steady gig. What's the place in Somerville there?
The Jungle.
Oh, the Jungle. Shout out to them. Great. They always take great care of us. So we had a steady gig. We practice usually before a show, so we were getting a lot of practice in. And that's the keys. You gotta see people. You gotta have FaceTime with your bandmates. And we were getting very tight. Know when to stop, when to start, when to go. Okay, we would just like Frankie would yell, "All right, let's keep going on the solo." We just extend songs. We were feeling it, and it was great to see people go, "Yeah, they're great. They're extending it." Like that type of stuff you can't like buy. It's so we were lucky. We're playing a Porch Fest in Jamaica Plain. Outdoors on the front of an old church on Center Street. It was the hottest day of the year.
It was Disney hot.
It was Disney hot. We brought a cooler of drinks, of water, and all that stuff, and we were exposed to the sun. The fans that we had, there was one tree with a picnic table. Actually, there might have been two trees and two picnic tables. And everyone was fighting to get those spots under there. Luckily, yeah, so some friends came from Rosendale, great crew, the Bonzi crew, McIntyre crew, and they were there for us. People walking by were videotaping us because they were liking the funk, they were liking the rock. They were, very diverse neighborhood.
And right behind us was a huge church.
Yeah, the inside was dilapidated, but it was enormous. We got a tour of it afterwards. It was quite impressive. It was almost reminded me the inside of it. If you ever get a chance to visit the great St. Patrick Cathedral down in New York, it was that big, very impressive church. It was unfortunate that it had been run down. I don't even know what denomination.
I think it was Catholic. They were going to switch it maybe to condos. So God knows what they were doing. My recollection is this. The gig was at noon as well. And
high noon on the hottest day of the year. No exposure sun. And I wore shorts and a tank top trying to dress for the weather. Frankie's in full-on rock star outfit,
with a wool hat on.
Wool hat, feather boas, leather pants,
and
leather jacket.
I turned to you, and it's like 40 minutes through the set.
I don't remember it being that long. I just remember I thought it felt like 10 minutes, but actually I think what the plan was, we're gonna do 2 sets because it was so hot. We'd have to definitely schedule a break. Usually at that point we were playing like 2-hour shows, minimum hour and a half shows pretty quickly, which is amazing from what we started at from point A to get to point Z. It was amazing that we built up our set list, could extend songs depending on the gig. All right, what's our time limit? Because sometimes we'd all right, you got a half hour of other bands. Usually 40 minutes. We were getting a lot of generous airtime, and that was going to be at least a 2-hour show. So we're 40 minutes in, and Frankie is drenched. His face is pale than it usually is because we're
people take me on vacation because I reflect sunlight. Move over there, kid. I need a tan. And then it's I felt so dehydrated.
Yeah, he's like, I believe you're getting to the point where you're going to just vomit. It was like the cusp of sunstroke. And I was like, suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah,
Go to the
I
corner
turned to him. I
store,
said, "Hey,
get
can we
get
take
some-
a break?" And you're like,
no, you wanted to cancel the show. And I was like,
Well, the red,
take
like-
10. Take 10. Suck it up. Get some Gatorades in you. We're coming back for the second. Because people I know showed up. You're not going to embarrass me. I'm on
That'll
to you.
be edited out. But anyways,
I'm on to you.
so I go over to, I believe it's called
Little Havana.
Little Havana. Beautiful people.
Yes.
We had a great video out of there. I did vomit. I did rehydrate. I had ice packs on my head.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they
And thank you, Stevo. Then I drag out, but we finished the set.
we finished the set. It was amazing. I remember because I had a tank top on. You wear tank tops in the summer when it's that hot. You can't, I think I had a hand towel, small little beach towel, something, because the sweat is just beat. I meant to get a Bruins hat. It's just like the sweat was just going in your eyes. I don't know how Frankie didn't collapse during the second part, because now it's like it's still before 2 o'clock on the hottest day of the year, no sun, dressed as he was. And
We finished with
he
Magic
finished
Potion.
strong. I love that video though when you're in the store. Like, I forgot the ice packs. It was like you were getting a triage from Boston Medical Center. The way they took care of you. Put this in you. Put this on top of you. It's like they
So sweet.
exactly. So,
Which comes to
a great
Barnesy.
song. Yeah, Barnesy texted me about 2 months ago that he'd gone by that Center Street and the gargoyles that were up on the roof. It basically collapsed. So we want, in honor of that great day, that's how great songs like "Smoke on the Water." They were playing a gig, and on the other side of the giant lake was a hotel where Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Venture were playing, and some stupid with a flare gun at the show shot it inside. It caught on fire, and they all had to evacuate. And the whole, pretty much, I think that hotel burned down. But Frank Zappa, they were on tour. They lost all their equipment, which was unfortunate. I think someone I can't remember who the band was. I think they were off the road, let them borrow the equipment to finish up the tour. On the other side of the lake was Deep Purple, and they were using, which a lot of bands like Led Zeppelin, of course, the Rolling Stones mobile recording studio. They were using it to record that great album that Smoke on the Water came off Machine Head. And they wrote that song about that. It was just like some event. Like I think they're actually could be on YouTube, which I believe I might have saw a year or so ago. There's like some news footage or documentaries about that actual fire, where you could actually see, photos of the hotel prior and after. Like, you're just like, wow, what a shame that had to happen. But
great song came out of it.
yeah, great art comes out of sometimes. Near-death experiences.
Thank you, bro. And what did Barnesy see with the church?
So he said it was basically like the roof is coming down, the gargoyles. So that kind of said, geez, the gargoyles of Jamaica Plain would make a great title. And almost done with it. Actually, no, we got it done. We got to get it done, get it on a CD. I think it's got I don't know if it would be hit, but I think it's going to be a fan favorite at shows. It could be a set closer that, you guys played all these songs. You think you're leaving, you're not leaving until you play the Gargoyles of Jamaica Plain.
Yeah, I love that so much. And tell me a little bit about your song that we play, Reykjavik Lovesick Blues. Where did that come from? And I know I can't say the capital city. Is it Kevlar?
No. Okay, so if you ever have a chance to experience the country of Iceland, smaller country, I think it's only like 100,000 people for population. Very similar weather-wise to Boston. You'd think because it's Iceland, it's like covered in snow and all that cold, but it's because I think we're pretty much on the same, I don't know what they call it, say wind or something, I don't know. Latitude, pretty much, yeah. That it's very similar to Boston. They speak English. So I was
better than us.
Yes, that was they'd always ask, "Oh, is my English okay? Do I speak it?" I'm like, "You guys have no accent." Their enunciation, they're very highly intelligent. That most of them can speak like 3 to 4 languages. They speak their native Icelandic, which I guess is a lot like Old Norse. They speak English. Pretty much everything, here on the radio, this was English. They also usually speak like Norwegian, Swedish, or Danish. I say out of those last three, they usually can speak like one to two of those languages. Because a lot of them go to Denmark, Sweden, or Norway for vacation, because...
And I speak English, Spanish, Starbucks, texting, and love.
Exactly. I can speak English in Southie. That's all. So I go, hey, kid, how you doing, kid?
Hey, kid.
What's up, kid? Don't be a loser now. Come on now. Come on, kid. I get tickets. You want to go see the Sox, kid, at Fenway? Okay. Mookie's gone, but they're still okay. We can see Andrew Benintendi. Is I saying his name right? Benintendi? I don't know. Or Jackie Bradley Jr. It's not just Jackie Bradley, JBJ. Come on, it's center field, but I think he's gone too. They're going to get a new center fielder, Duran. I think that's his name.
Ken. So with the song, did you go over there? Or?
Yeah, so me and a friend, Pat G, we were actually talking about it the other day that I think it's been, like 12 to 14 years. I can't remember exactly. It was, say, like 2006 or 2008 that we'd went there, and I just fell in love with the country. Sometimes I used to travel when I was younger, and I'd go, I don't really want to come back because I didn't like traveling. I'd always get homesick of Southie, but when I went there, I had a great time. Not that I was still drinking at the time and partying up, but it was basically about, having a great time there. And I remember, I wrote it in the lobby in my head, right? We'll wait for the taxi to take us to the airport, which is Keflavik. That's where the airport's that Frankie always calls Kevlar. But it's kind of like I wanted to write a song about it. And when I came back with the gangsters, they figured it out. It wasn't a 12-bar blues. It was an 8-bar blues, which I never knew there was such a thing as a 8-bar blues. But I kind of wanted to have that, what's that Elvis song? Blue Suede Shoes. That actually, it's a Carl Perkins song. That old style rock and roll, like jump blues swing thing to it. And I kind of would sing it, and you guys figured out the chords to it, and you guys were like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And we for different shows we can extend it, we can shorten it. Like the basics are there that we could always mess around with it. That I don't know if it'll ever become a rock standard, but I just love it, and I want to record it so the people of Iceland can feel the love that someone who not from there wanted to give them a shout out. So
no, that's so true, because hopefully with this pandemic, let's get that over with. So maybe you and I could hit East Boston. We also had a nice roof deck show in Somerville where they had called the election, and this is famous in my own mind, going into another song, which you did so well on.
Famous, stay famous, stay famous, stay famous, stay famous, stay famous, famous in my own mind, yeah. Going out to you beautiful babies out there. We did it. We finished this election. Woo! Okay, well, I've never tried cocaine before. All right. I've done some Pepsi in my day, people. And we love you. So beautiful out today. Carol, say hi to Mom, please. This is your daughter, the Bass Annihilator. We want to thank you, Mom. Okay, that's almost satanic enough. Let's get this rolling.
So yes, we always have to maybe have a song about cocaine and being famous in your own mind.
it's a requirement. I don't want to be in any
That's what we
band
called
that doesn't have songs about
sex, drugs, and rock and roll,
Exactly.
which we used to call it Tuesday.
Call it Tuesday.
But now the
Exactly.
pandemic. And you came up with that part of us going to E, which I thought was really great for the build-up in Devil's Dandruff.
It's funny, like you have a song and you're like, it's something. Sometimes that extra part, it might take a while. You got 2 great parts, you might have 3 great parts. You just go, there's something we got to do. And it's funny is what inspired it. I think I might have heard it because Rush. That's like kind of a Rush thing where you drop into a halftime, and Neil Peart, shout out to them. And you kind of don't know what can influence a song, and it just seems totally related. They don't sound anything alike, but they say like, oh, let's go into a bridge part, because Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, like I listen to them a lot because they go into these great bridges and songs. And
our buddy Roy Orbison.
Yeah, like Roy just like wrote. It's so non-standard what he wrote. Like he just wrote what he felt like. This should go into here. I got another part in my head that we should go here. It's just, and then, let's go back to the first part. Like, you weren't expecting that. It's like a roller coaster ride you don't expect, like, and say, old Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band, they take you, you don't know where the songs, like Led Zeppelin, the Queen, or something like that. They wrote so different. Like, a lot of Led Zeppelin songs don't even have choruses, like, you're just like, right, that's when you take chances. Is excellent, like that. I felt like, we should go into a halftime part before we go into the chorus. It felt like it was like pretty cool to do that. That's that kind of on that song for me. Like Bill Ward, a great underrated drummer from Black Sabbath. Like he's another big influence. He's got to be in my top 10, and he don't really is recognized, say, up there with John Bonham or Charlie Watts, Ringo, but he's one of the most dynamite drummers of classic rock, hard rock. I mean, a lot of stuff he did is like, you wouldn't believe is like jazz influenced. The stuff he could do, him and the great bass player with them, Geezer Butler, who wrote most of the lyrics, like he was the Irish Catholic in the band of English hooligans. And like, that's why I like say, the devil and this or that. Like, no, he's really talking about his Irish Catholic background, and hell and all that stuff was, that's hell and all that stuff's like Catholic as opposed to Protestants or other religions. And he brought that to there, and people kind of like, whoa, what is this? This is different. Like they were so tight as a band, but at the same time they were so open because they were like jazz and blues background that they could just jam. And then Ozzy's voice just fits with them, like Ozzy has a talented songwriter and singer, but if he was in another band, it might not have fit. But those guys, the guitar sound, the bass, the drums, and his voice together, like make this combination that's like unbelievable. Same thing like Zeppelin or the Beatles. Like every great band has this combination that if there's other people in the band, it might not work. And I think our band right now has the combination that it's working. We're making great art, writing great songs.
And that's what matters, because I've always said, hail you, hail Satan, hail Stevo. Stevo, thank you so much for being on Melted. Also want to thank you for your time. Our Satanic Six-Pack will be out soon with Devil's Dandruff, Kiss the Antichrist. Say hi to Satan. We have a few more. It's going to be great. Stevo, thank you for your time. You are the human metronome and a backbone of the existence of the universe. So we want to thank you. Yeah, we did it.
This podcast was produced in collaboration with the Boston Free Radio Podcast Network, part of BostonFreeRadio.com and Somerville Media Center, Somerville's longest-running public access media center that enables a vibrant and diverse community to express its creativity, explain its ideas, share its cultures, and foster the individual right to freedom of speech. Learn more about Somerville Media Center at somervillemedia.org, or check out some of the other amazing Boston Free Radio podcasts and radio shows at bostonfreeradio.com. Thanks for listening.